Hello again, this is Dr. Jimmy, and it is still August 15th. And what I alluded to earlier this morning in the video about Saw has now been announced as anticipated, and indeed it's kind of what I was afraid it might be. Basically, if you haven't already heard this, and if you're a Horror Nights fan, you're probably already reeling right now, but it was announced this morning that this year, at Halloween Horror Nights 27, shall be the final performances ever of Bill and Ted's Excellent Halloween Adventure. It's their final tour. So Bill and Ted, that would be Bed, not Till and Bed, no. Bill and Ted, that's, of course, William S. Preston, Esquire, and Ted Theodore Logan, Bill and Ted, will be the Wild Stallions, will definitely have performances at this year's event, Halloween Horror Nights 27. Some people acted like that wasn't the case. I don't get that. Now this will be their last hurrah, the final party for all of us dudes, and after after that, they will not be returning in subsequent Halloween Horror Night events in the future. I think part of the reason that's happening, I think there's multiple reasons. One of the reasons, is I believe the venue, the Fear Factor Auditorium, will be torn down sometime after Halloween Horror Nights 27 to make room for even more Harry Potter magicalness. I've heard rumours for years about a Ministry of Magic attraction. I'm not sure if that's what will actually be going in, but that's what has been suspected. So that could be part of it, a further expansion of the Wizarding World. The other thing is the people who have control the rights to Bill and Ted franchise. Of course, there were two films made many years ago, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, both of which have been referenced over the years at the show, because Ted is dressed as he was dressed in Excellent Adventure, but Bill is dressed as he was during Bogus Journey, which is something that's always been a bit incongruous, but that way they reference both movies every year at the event. And the two most excellent dudes, the chosen ones, the great ones who have changed all time and space and history, will be moving on from Halloween Horror Nights, but they're moving on in a different way in the movies. And that may have something to do with it, because after all these decades, just like Twin Peaks came back after 25 years, there are plans afoot to make a third Bill and Ted film. Keanu Reeves has talked about this many times on chat shows I've seen, including Graham Norton, and I think he was on one in America. I think it was possibly Colbert or Fallon, or one of the shows. But he mentioned it, and the project is still on, and it's going to be about Bill and Ted in their 50s, because they're about my age. They're in their 50s, and I've aged along with the dudes, yes, but in the show at Halloween Horror Nights, they're still young. How can this be? I've gotten so old, and they're still so young. Time travel, that's what it is. Cursed time travel. But no, I've been watching this, and they're on the... And he's saying that the idea is that we have Bill and Ted, now they're in their 40s, and they haven't really changed the world yet. They're supposed to have brought about this thing, and the problem is also they have kids of their own. It's sort of like Back to the Future. It's like their kids become the problem, and so they have to remember little Bill and little Ted at the end of Bogus Journey, who are just infants. So those little kids who'd be in their 20s now will be featured in this program, I suppose, this new motion picture. And Of course, unfortunately, George Carlin can't be in it, but it'd be very nostalgic and wonderful, especially for people who were like my age, who were kids, who were young people when Bill and Ted first came out, and we would like to go back and see a new Bill and Ted movie. So that plans are afoot, but that will change in popular culture who Bill and Ted are, because then if the movie's a big hit, people will be thinking of, Bill and Ted as modern day Keanu Reeves, the John Wick Keanu Reeves, not the young dude Keanu Reeves from so many years ago, not even the somewhere in between there, Neo Keanu Reeves. Now granted, the man doesn't age very much. I mean, you can look at pictures then and now, and even, yeah, he's aged a bit, but not much. I mean, it doesn't crack for him, because it might be part of the Hawaiian Asian thing, I don't know. Or maybe he is one of the undead, or perhaps this people have found photos of people who look exactly like Keanu Reeves from like the 18th century, from the 19th century, and paintings from like medieval times. And it's like, is this guy just been a vampire changing his name throughout history? Or is he really an immortal? But, so many of his movies, he's like a messiah, whether it's Buddha or Neo or even Ted. It's like he's some kind of chosen one. He plays he's almost typecast as the chosen one in so many of these movies. Is it true? Is that who Keanu Reeves really is? In the 90s, there were like internet cults in the early internet. Like in 97, 98, 99, there were like these internet cults of Keanu Reeves, like the dudes of the Keanic Circle. Of course, the Keanic Circle had a K in it. And they were like, worship Keanu Reeves. I love that. And he made a movie right here in Winter Park back then, too. It was called Parenthood. And they filmed it like right in my neighborhood. So that's awesome. Didn't get to meet him, though. I've always wanted to meet Keanu because he's like the Holy One. So wouldn't it be awesome? Wouldn't it be fucking awesome if they could get Keanu and Alex to show up sometime during the final performances of Bill and Ted? If they even make a cameo in the show. I mean, it would be totally... I don't think that could possibly happen. But my point, though, is that because of the new movie, it's going to make people think of what Bill and Ted are like nowadays, and that movie's a big hit. Then instead of nostalgia about old school Bill and Ted when they're kids in San Dimas High School, it's going to be Bill and Ted now, middle-aged Bill and Ted. So they would have to totally change the show. The show wouldn't work in that case because the franchise would have moved on, right? That could be part of it as well. So that's part of it. It's the fact that the franchise doesn't stand still if it continues, and it is apparently continuing, and the park is changing, and we're taking rid of the Fear Factor Auditorium. And God bless us all, but the Fear Factor show should have gone a long, long time ago. And I think the only reason they left that fucking show there for so many years after Fear Factor had been cancelled back in, 2001 or something? All these decades, all this time, it's still there mainly just so they have some place to do Bill and Ted. And there's always, even though they're saying this is the last one, if everyone complains and Bill and Ted is so good and there's enough of that, maybe they'll start thinking, is there another place we could do the show? They used to do it in the Toon Lagoon over at Islands. Of course, they're not going to put Howling Horror Nights back to Islands. But if they ever had a special anniversary, like, I don't know, 2020, when it'll be the 30th year of Horror Nights, if they ever, that might be if they ever did that, and there ever was, like, a time when they would do both islands and the studios again, to sort of, especially because Terra Cruentus every 15 years, right? And then there's this Toon Lagoon Auditorium. That might be a year. I mean, they brought the Rat Lady back after she had gone, and she'd been an annual tradition for so many years, and then the Rat Lady had to leave. But they brought her back for 25. So maybe, somehow, someday, in the future, especially during an anniversary year, there might be not to continue for all time, but a return anniversary retrospective celebration and bring Bill and Ted back one more time in the future. Who knows? It could happen after all. you never really say goodbye to someone who has access to a time machine. No such thing as a final farewell, because they can always come back and see you some other time in history. So, that's the good thing about being a time traveler. You never really have to say goodbye to a time travel. Now, there are people who got the idea, apparently, that this meant that there'll never be Bill and Ted now. That somehow last year's last show is the last show ever, and they're just cancelling it right now, even after they told everyone there's going to be Bill and Ted this show. Then all of a sudden, now it's done. I mean, I think somebody got that crazy idea, because I'm seeing people say, well, they didn't tell us when we bought our tickets there wouldn't be Bill and Ted. What tickets did you buy? The tickets for Halloween Horror Nights 28 next year aren't on sale yet. Okay? The only tickets that are on sale are for this year's event. And Bill and Ted will be at this year's event. There'll be several shows every night of the event of Halloween Horror Nights 27. Now, albeit the last show on the final night may be a nightmare to get into. If you're able to get, you may have to line up, at the beginning of the event, because you're not going to be able to stay there when they switch from day to night. The stay and scream doesn't happen in the queue for Bill and Ted, sorry. So, but you may have to line up, all day on the last night and not do any haunted houses or anything, just so that you can get into Bill and Ted. I'm sure there's crazy people thinking of doing that. I mean, I'd love to see the last show, especially since I understand it's going to end in an actual 69. I mean, why not? No, they wouldn't do that. But it would be wonderful, but, yeah. Appropriate. But, no, let's start some nasty rumors. Yeah, Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter are actually going to be there for the last show and play them. And then people will go fucking insane, and there'll be 10 million people that see the show. No, let's not be evil. That's a rumor. I've started. I made that up. Don't tell people that. It's a rumor. I made it up. It's not true. Oh, but yeah, it's gonna be crazy. I would love to see the final show on the final night, but I realized it may be impossible, because some people may have been lined up there since September 15th, just waiting to see the last show on the last night. I refuse to move. You cannot move me. I am going to chain myself to this wall. It's crazy people. I love the show. I see it. I try to see it I've actually seen. Well, sometimes I only see one or two performances back in the old days, but I've seen at least one performance of every version of the show since '92, not including Hollywood, obviously. But because that's one thing I always wanted to catch. But sometimes I've seen plenty. The last show of the year I've missed several times, especially when I had to go to Europe, or I got the whooping cough and I couldn't get out of bed. But I saw the last show last year, and it was the first time in a couple of years I saw the last show of the thing last year. But this year, I don't know if it's even going to be possible. And hey, what about you guys who win the sweepstakes? You win the sweepstakes, and you're guaranteed to be in that final tweet-up dinner, and you get to meet characters and all of that, and banquet and stuff they have on the last night. But if you do that, you're not going to be able to do the last Bill and Ted. And what about the last show of the stage show? I almost said what the name of the stage show is probably going to be, although the fact it hasn't been announced, and I don't know for a confirmed fact. But we all think it's going to be some kind of school for evildoers. like a college of the arch nemesis of heroes. Not saying it is going to be them, but it seems like it's probably going to be them. But but some people might want to see that show, or do something else. at the end of the night instead of go to Bill and Ted. And it's a good. But what if you actually were, what if you actually got the sweepstakes and that's part of your prize? And oh my God, I don't want to do that now because I've got. What are you going to do? Try to hand it off to someone else and it's not transferable? Oh dear. At least you got a T-shirt. I shouldn't be laughing because some people right now are like in mourning. Even though they've got 31 nights, I think, this year, with multiple shows each night. It's not like you're going to miss it. You're going to see lots and lots and lots of, especially the fanatics, who do it every damn night of the event, as many times as they can. So trust me, you're going to be seeing the Bill and Ted show at least, I don't know, 90 more times, because you'd go there 3 times a night for every night of the event. Maybe more than that. It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't freaking surprise me, because there's usually like 4 or 5 performances a night, and there's 31 nights. There's going to be over 100 performances of this show this year, and there's some people who are going to see almost all of them because they're lunatics. So and they're complaining because no more Bill and Ted. Well, geez, you're going to have more Bill and Ted between now and before the event is over. Then I'm going to have hot dinners in the same time period. So it's like, yeah, there won't be any after this year. That's true. But again, if you haven't purchased tickets for Halloween Horror Nights 28 next year, then which you haven't, because they're not on sale yet, because we don't even know when the event will be held. The dates haven't been listed for next year. Nobody knows if it's even going to happen. What? Why do you say that? Yeah, because there might be a nuclear war between now and 2018, and we may all be dead by then. So let's not even worry about Halloween Horror Nights 28. That's the point that I think we should make, that there will never be any more Bill and Ted after this year. There may be nothing after this year. Think of that. So don't worry about losing Bill and Ted. Enjoy it while you got it, because somebody once said, there's no tomorrow. Yesterday's done, so now is all you have. And I think Keanu Reeves totally gets into that, because that's part of the whole sort of, that kind of philosophy. We're all dust in the wind, dudes. Exactly. So now is the time. So enjoy the now. Enjoy the Bill and Ted that is now, because we may not even have a tomorrow to worry about them. If there is a tomorrow and there's no Bill and Ted show there, you always have it forever, here and here, And so that's what I have to say about all that. But yeah, but I will miss the show in future years if I'm still alive then. But I'm sure they'll come up with other wonderful things for Halloween Horror Nights. The first one, they didn't even have the Bill and Ted show. Of course, most of you aren't old enough to remember Fright Nights, but there wasn't a Bill and Ted show till 1992. That's why this last show is the 26th Bill and Ted at Orlando. But yes, it's the end of an era, and it does give the feels, and I have the feels big time. And I'd like to personally thank all the wonderful, wonderful people who have done this for us for so many years. And I can't name all of them, and there's some whose names I never knew. But there's lots of people. I'd like to thank J. Michael Roddy. I'd like to thank Mike Aiello, who wrote and directed this show for a long time. I'd like to thank Jason Horn, who's current director, Patrick Brayard. I'd like to thank so many wonderful people, many of great Bills and Teds for many, many years, but especially some that are close to me, that I know and who I've enjoyed. People like James Keaton and PJ, and because I can never pronounce his last name, sorry, who's still Bill at last time I saw him. Right? He's been Bill for a long time. Keaton, of course, had been Ted back in the 90s, and since then he had played other characters at Bill and Ted, and of course he's Jack the Clown. He's all sorts of characters at Universal, but he was Ted Theodore Logan once, and Mr. Furious in the show after that, and lots, and one of the apes. I forget which ape it was. Is it Ajax? One of the bad apes from from the Mark Wahlberg version of the movie, whatever that bad ape was, a Tim Roth ape. He played that one, I believe, and lots of other great characters. And of course, Erin Klein, we all know her as Chance, but she's been many wonderful characters in Bill and Ted over the years. And of course, I have to mention about 14,000 guys named Jason. There's too many Jasons involved in this show. All kinds of Jasons, including 2 or 3 great Jason actors like Jason Perry and Jason Urbanski, and dancers like Jason Tibbs, and I don't remember all the last names of of course, Jason Horn, the show director. So many Jasons, and Jeremy Pautko from The Walking Dead, who has done a lot of great work in Bill and Ted over the years, and now is on The Walking Dead. So many other people. I hate Sharon Yost. Yes, we want to appreciate her. She's been spectacular. Even wrote part of the show last year after performing in the show and stealing every scene she's ever in. I mean, totally stealing the show from everybody else, especially her diva turn as Elsa a couple years ago, and her performance, Let It Go, turned into I Let Myself Go. Sharon is just amazing. There's so many others, Michael Navarro, one of the little dancers who played Jacob in the Jacob and Edward shows when they had Twilight parodies. There's just God, so many people. Brandon, who played Edward, so many people. I can't even remember all of them. Oh God, Christian. Gotta mention Christian. I've known Christian since the 90s, before he ever was an actor at Universal, and he used to come over and visit me when I was at the Adventurers Club as a guest, and I was there working the Adventurers Club. Yeah, Christian, of course, has done so much great work there. And I remember recently, just a couple of years ago, when he did the Les Miserables thing. Oh, that was hysterical. Oh, Austin Romero, of course. Yes, you can't forget Austin. Austin Romero, who has been in so many different shows at Universal. And I think he, once in a while, still comes back to work Universal, but now is better known for his work in the WWE as Mike Rome. So we've got all kinds of people who've been here and moved on, like Austin and Jeremy, who are on other, doing work elsewhere in wrestling and on AMC and WWE. I mean, it's pretty amazing that they've people that we knew from here. God, I can't name them all. But there have been so many, and so many others earlier from old shows and old days. So many people. There's a whole bunch of women and men that I've met, and I don't know their names because I've only just sort of met them once in a while, walking back and forth, and people might even say something to me because I'm so recognizable, and I don't even know who they all are, but I know what they did. And there's just so many people who've been involved, and God knows all the people we don't know, but they've been working on this show all these years. Prop people, costume people, makeup people, lighting technicians, the sound guys, all these people who've made this show so great for the past 2.5 decades. Yeah, because that's right, because last year's show was the 25th Bill and Ted. All those wonderful people that are behind the scenes, who even knows who they all are? So, all of them have done such great work. So I want to give out thanks and let you know that I appreciate you immensely. And I'm sure that there are many, many people out there who appreciate it immensely. And, heartfelt thanks. Looking forward to the last performances of Bill and Ted. And, it is a bit of a tearjerker that these are the last performances, but then you never know. You never know what's going to happen in the future. Maybe many years from now they might bring it back for nostalgic purposes just one more time, or maybe it'll never be again. You never know for certain, and it might take a totally new form, especially if they're making more Bill and Ted movies. But let's hope that somehow something hysterical, something excellent, someday will be a major show at Halloween Horror Nights, not just the dance shows. You never know what they might come up with for other shows. Nothing has had the staying power of Bill and Ted, but we'll see. So, with all that said, this is my video reaction to the big news this year, and but then again, we still, hasn't even started yet. So, but I did want to make the point of naming as many people off the top of my head, and and there's dozens more that I didn't mention, but you're all included. You're all included, and great thanks to all of you. And I know there are probably some people, some passionate fans, I'll use that word, who are probably hysterical right now. And maybe someone should start some kind of support group. I mean, I'm not really kidding there. To comfort these people and some kind of hotline so they don't take any drastic action. And I'm only half joking there too, because the people who really took this show more seriously than for an amusing, funny show that's done once a year at a Halloween, a temporary Halloween event at a theme park. It was for them more than that, and to a degree that it's going to cause them severe emotional distress. And I'm not kidding. I can think of 2 or 3 people right now who are probably really having a bad day. And so if you know these people, I think maybe you should go give them a hug. All right, so that's Dr. Jimmy signing off about this. Of course. So, be excellent to each other, and party on, dude.